we can have the embassy built in about 3 months. I said, 3 months, as opposed to 20 years. So here's the deal. $1 billion, land we don't own, will take forever to get it open. It'll never open. And then in addition to all of the people will try and stop you, and that's $1 billion, as opposed to a better location for $400,000. I said, spend more, please. You know, sometimes something can cost so little, it's ridiculous, right? So we opened it. It is totally beautiful. The finest stones, the finest marbles, the best location. It's open. It opened in 4 months after we started building. We had the dedication ceremony. But that's government. By the way, I could tell you 100 stories like that. These stories are crazy. So instead of spending $1 billion and not having it for 20 years, we spent $400,000 and it opened up in a few months. Is that good? Is that a good story? And I think it probably is better. Somebody said, well, it won't be. I said, yeah, I think the big difference is probably better, okay? So those are the stories. But in order to ensure the other big move, the Iranian regime never obtains nuclear weapons, I withdrew the United States from the horrible one-sided Iran nuclear deal 3 weeks ago. Instead of apologizing for America, which we always do, we are finally standing up for our great country. And that's why in November, we will reverse a trend. When you win the presidency, for some reason, you always end up losing the House, losing the Senate. It's like 90% of the time. Makes absolutely no sense. But I think what happens is you get complacent. You worked, all of you people in this room, some of you are friends of mine, some of you I recognize, but you work so hard in Tennessee, they're working hard all over the country, and you win. And now you sit back and you relax. That's the worst thing can happen. Because all of a sudden you have another election. And this election is a very important one. This is a really important election. So you have to get out. We need Marsha Blackburn to win. And it's going to be a very special time. So we'll deliver all of our citizens. We'll deliver all of our promises. Together, we will lift up our country. We'll lift up millions and millions of Americans from welfare to work, from dependence to independence, and from poverty to prosperity. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Remember when I'd make a speech and I'd talk about African American and I'd say highest crime rate, bad education. I'd go like 10 points. And they're always voting. African Americans vote for Democrats for the most part. You know, vast majority. They've been doing it for over 100 years. And I said, highest crime, bad education, bad this, bad that. And what did I say? What the hell do you have to lose? And now we have numbers coming out that are so fantastic for Hispanic, for African American. Thank you. Right? Right? And I fulfilled, but we have just started. We have just started. Because we're going to build new airports. We've become like a third world country. You look at our airports, you go to places like Saudi Arabia and other places, China. Go to some of these countries and you'll see things that you've never seen before. We used to be the leader. We're going to build new airports. We're going to build new highways. We're going to build new dams. We're going to build infrastructure. We just had approved recently. We're fixing up all of our airports. Billions of dollars just got approved, and I'm signing it shortly. We will build new strength into our country. We will breathe new hope into our communities. And we will do it all with these big, beautiful hands. Look at these hands. Because we've got more capability, we've got more grit, and we've got a thing called American pride, and nobody has it like us. Loyal citizens like you, the people of Tennessee, help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We're returning the power back to our great American patriots. This great state was forged through the sweat and courage of tough frontiermen and strong frontier women who braved the elements and defied the dangers to carve out a home in the wilderness. Not easy. Generations of proud, patriotic Tennessee pioneers. These are incredible people. Your relatives who love their families, love their country, and love their God made this beautiful state into their beloved home. This is the state of country music, of Nashville legends. We love those legends. And of Memphis blues. It's the state of Andrew Jackson, a great president and a great general, by the way. It's the state of Davy Crockett and Sergeant York. And this November, this is the state where America's comeback will continue full speed ahead. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who have what we have done. We have beaten empires. We have tamed continents. We've triumphed over the worst evils in history. We have triumphed over evil like nobody's ever seen before. Our ancestors, they crossed the oceans, they blazed the trails, they climbed the mountains and created the modern world with their own two hands. We're the nation that built the Empire State Building in less than 1 year, and the Golden Gate Bridge, and the incredible Panama Canal, which we gave away. We won 2 world wars. We defeated communism and fascism. And we put a man on the face of the moon. And you see what's happening with NASA. See those rocket ships starting to go up again. A lot of jobs. A lot of great stuff happening with NASA. As long as we are proud of who we are and what we are fighting for, we will never, ever fail. Never fail. I say it, and I say it all the time. We are so respected again. I can't even tell you the degree to which people respect our country again. It's amazing. It's amazing. With your help, with your voice, and with your vote, we will win, win, win. We will achieve victory for our magnificent land, the land that we love, because we are Americans, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue. We will never give in. We will never give up. And we will never stop fighting for our country, for our flag, and for our great, beautiful freedom. We are one people. We are one family and one glorious nation under God. Without without a question, without a doubt, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make...
By the way, they'll probably have to pay taxes while they're here. It's such a high-tax state. Meanwhile, the, of course, Detroit Trump media openly mocking the president's negotiations with Kim Jong-un. And guess what? They're all but ignoring the Trump administration's massive diplomatic success here, including freeing the American hostages from all over the world. We're going to show you the worst of the worst and how corrupt your biased media is tonight. Also, we have Robert Mueller's out-of-control Russia probe has now lost any sense of legitimacy, and we'll explain. And according to reports, Obama's Justice Department, they utilized at least one informant to spy on multiple Trump campaign officials and associates during the 2016 election. And by the way, the media is lying about it. Now, also, Robert Mueller has allegedly weaponized the information collected by the informants, spies, in order to target President Trump and those connected to his campaign. I think one of the funniest moments tonight. By the way, if you're here as a spy, just let me know. Please put your hand up. And he's dragging out, by the way, the investigation. He wants to derail many pro-Trump Republicans in the midterms. We'll explain the president's tweet from earlier. And, of course, the media doesn't get it. And they are running for full cover for Robert Mueller, downplaying this illicit deep state spying scheme, the biggest abuse of power, the biggest corruption scandal in American history. Also, liberal activists all across the country were publicly embarrassed this week after they were caught pushing a salacious fake story about President Trump putting illegal immigrants in cages. Well, it turns out that actually was under Obama's administration. And finally, we'll bring you all the latest on Roseanne, canceled by ABC after Roseanne Barr's incendiary comments. Sit tight, buckle up. Tonight's very important breaking news opening monologue is next. All right, you just saw the president gave a rousing speech in Nashville, Tennessee during a campaign push for Senate candidate, friend of the show, Marsha Blackburn, ahead of the midterm elections. We're going to play you some of the best moments of this rally throughout the show. But first, as the president's historic talks now with Kim Jong-un weigh in the balance. Now, despite what you are hearing from the left-wing media in this country, we have full reason to believe and be hopeful about the potential upcoming talks with North Korea. Tomorrow, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, he is set to meet with a high-ranking North Korean official in New York City, now the most senior official to visit the United States in nearly 2 decades. A massive development and only the latest sign that these historic talks might still take place in Singapore. They're scheduled to begin on June the 12th. Now, of course, last week, President Trump initially canceled the summit, sending a strongly worded letter to Kim Jong-un after the despot, the dictator, authorized a series of aggressive statements and failed to comply with some of the basic planning ahead of the talks. And as you can imagine, your corrupt media used that letter to trash the president, revealing what I have been saying so many times on this program. In order to have the president fail, that means the country has to fail. They're openly rooting for the president to fail, even if a more peaceful world is at stake for our children. Watch this pathetic, despicable display of Trump derangement syndrome.
As a friend of mine said in an email to me as I was on the train to New York, it sounds like a 13-year-old stream of consciousness in a breakup letter from overnight camp.
I get it. I'm going to break up with you before you break up with me. But by the way, call me.
Last week, a U.S. team in Singapore stood up on a date by North Korea, then ghosted by North Korea. They're not even responding to U.S. overtures. And today, of course, culminating in name-calling, a very awkward breakup letter. Oh, and by the way, the threat of using nuclear weapons.
As far as we know, he didn't consult with his own National Security Council. He dictates this bizarre, actually embarrassing letter.
This is a total breakup letter, and you realize, like, this when your relationship starts souring, but you want to be the one to break up first, so you cut it off, but you're kind of like, maybe we can leave it open-ended. That's what this feels like.
Breakup letter. How many times have I said that everyone in the media, they're all sheep? And they got this little echo chamber, and they all quote themselves, and they all think they're so smart. All right, so while the media is quick to bash the president during every twist and turn in what is a negotiation, they need to learn the art of the deal with North Korea. Well, they're more than happy to ignore the president's historic diplomatic triumphs. Now, this includes Trump's success. So far, he has freed 17 Americans who were once detained or held hostage abroad. Now, the latest example came this weekend when the Trump administration secured the release of an American, Joshua Holt, and his wife after they spent nearly 2 years in a Venezuelan prison after being detained on several bogus, politically motivated charges. Take a look.
I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude for you guys, for everything that you've done, for the support of my wife through those 2 years. They were very, very, very difficult 2 years. Just so grateful for what you guys have done and for thinking about me and caring about me, just a normal person. So it really touches me, and thank you.
You've been very brave, actually. You've been incredibly brave. We saw what was happening inside of that prison. So you really have been very, very brave.
Thank God our fellow Americans are home. We're going to have more on the president's historic diplomatic gains around the world throughout the program tonight. First, we have more disturbing developments from Robert Mueller's illegitimate runaway witch hunt. This needs to go away. Last week, we first reported that the Justice Department, under the Obama administration, utilized at least one FBI informant to actively spy on multiple people that are associated with the Trump campaign. That includes Sam Clovis and Carter Page. They will be here tonight, along with George Papadopoulos, who recently pled guilty to lying to the FBI after pressure from the Office of the Special Counsel. Now, Sam Clovis recently told Byron York that the informant, FBI spy, used him in order to secure the meeting with Papadopoulos. Meanwhile, former Trump campaign aide Michael Caputo, he also, all three of these guys that were approached by the spy will join us tonight. And, of course, Caputo is claiming that he was approached by multiple government informants during the 2016 election. Imagine for a second if there were spies in Hillary's campaign and she did do a deal for Russian propaganda. Take a look.
Let me tell you something that I know for a fact. This informant, this person that they tried to plan into the campaign and even into the administration, if you believe Axios, he's not the only person that came at the campaign. And the FBI is not the only Obama agency that came at the campaign. I know because they came at me. And I'm looking for clearance from my attorney to reveal this to the public. This is just the beginning.
Now, even former Assistant U.S. Attorney from the Southern District of New York, Andy McCarthy, he's backing up some of these claims in an article entitled The Obama Administration's Hypocritical Pretext for Spying on the Trump Campaign. And in the article, McCarthy writes, quote, the Obama administration decided to use its counterintelligence powers to spy on the Trump campaign using at least
This is
one
Fox News alert President Trump about to speak at a rally.
Communications and other intelligence gathering tactics. It ignored the norm against deploying such tactics against political opponents, not based on evidence of a Trump-Russia criminal conspiracy, but on speculation about the Trump campaign's Russia contacts and Russian sympathies. How many times have I said they're weaponizing the powerful tools of intelligence? Now, of course, this illicit, this unprecedented spying is now being used by Team Mueller to malign President Trump and everybody else around him. Hours ago, the president raised another pressing concern surrounding the ongoing Mueller witch hunt. He tweeted out, quote, the 13 angry Democrats, plus people who worked 8 years for Obama, worked on the rigged Russian witch hunt, will be meddling with the midterm elections, especially now that Republicans, stay tough, are taking the lead in the polls. There was no collusion except by the Democrats. Now, the president raises an important concern, especially given the new revelation surrounding what the president is calling, rightly, Spygate. And, of course, the mainstream media, they are providing cover for Team Mueller as they actively are rooting for the special counsel investigation to find something, to find anything on this president. And as you can probably imagine, the media has been doing everything in its power to downplay what is the single biggest abuse of power corruption scandal in American politics and history. And by the way, you have an administration using the Justice Department to spy on an opposing political party during a presidential election, using bought and paid for the other campaign, in this case Hillary Clinton, using her bought and paid for funneled money through a law firm to Fusion GPS to hire a foreign national to get Russian lies that even he says in an interrogatory in Great Britain, maybe 50-50 at best, raw intelligence, to then get a warrant by lying to a spy, a FISA judge in an original application and 3 subsequent applications and not telling any of the judges that Hillary paid for it. Take a look at how the biased press is trying to brush aside this huge, massive national abuse of power corruption scandal.
I have an aversion to the use of the word spy, but let's just,
President Trump,
for the sake of discussion, use that term, which conventionally means the use of tradecraft, using a formally trained case officer who would mask identity, who would attempt to recruit. So none of the classical attributes of spycraft, if I can use that term, were present here. This is the most benign form of information gathering. So to characterize it as a spy or Spygate is, of course, part of the narrative. And it's directly antithetical to what I actually said.
At various times, Trump has seemed attracted to conspiracy theories. There's obviously much remarked upon looseness with the truth and the lies, et cetera, et cetera. But the obsession with conspiracy theories and tall tales, as you say, Joe, dates back for a long time. I think the point right now, though, is that he's using them to a particular kind of political effect.
Heileman's a liberal hack, and Clapper is a known liar. We're going to have much more
This
on the
is Fox News alert. President Trump about to speak at a rally tonight in Nashville, Tennessee.
He's there stumping. That left many on the left totally embarrassed over the weekend. Remember this picture circulated online showing many illegal immigrants being detained in a chain link cage. And of course, many on the left became outraged, just outraged, quickly accusing the Trump administration of massive human rights violations. You have activist Sean King said that children of immigrants being held in cages like dogs. And Linda Sarsour, remember her? Oh, yeah, she chimed in, hashtagging, "We are our children." What Sarsour, King, and yes, your friends in the media failed to realize is, let's put those pictures back up. Those pictures were taken in 2014. Barack Hussein Obama was your president. And back then, they voiced zero concern about Obama's detention policies. Now, meanwhile, others on the left use these photos, of course, to attack President Trump. Whoopsie daisy. Take a look.
As the president correctly points out, the photo is from 2014. But that tweet highlights just how heated this whole discussion has become surrounding parents and children who cross the border.
There's some renewed scrutiny that some children are being separated from their parents at the border. It is a policy the Trump administration has defended.
President Trump tweeted about one of his favorite topics this morning, immigration. This, as his policies are facing major criticism, writing in part, quote, "Dems must agree to wall and new border protection for good of country. Bipartisan bill!" exclamation point. The president has been taking serious heat for his immigration policies recently, particularly his policy of separating families in detention.
There's actually a new policy from the administration right now to separate families. These are families who made the courageous decision, a hard decision, to leave behind everything that they had, their families, their communities, their belongings, out of fear to come to the United States.
Now, finally tonight, the reboot of the sitcom Roseanne has been canceled. This after Roseanne Barr made some really incendiary, pretty appalling comments on Twitter about the appearance of Obama aide Valerie Jarrett. Earlier today, she did apologize, but the show is now over. We're going to have more reaction later in the show. But first, joining us with reaction to all of this breaking news, and of course, the president's big rally in Nashville, Tennessee, is Sarah Carter, and the author of the very soon-to-be-released #1 bestseller, BarnesandNoble.com, Hannity.com. You're going to want to read this book. I have read a lot of it. It's amazing. The Russian hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. Our own Greg Jarrett is with us. Let's start with Spygate. First of all, this is what I love about you. You become a really close friend, and you're 2 doors down from me, and we get a lot of time to talk. And you said, Sean, I looked up the definition of what a spy is. This is the government definition?
No, this is just your plain dictionary definition. And in fact, if you look up spy in the thesaurus, it says, quote, secret or undercover agent. That's what this guy was. He was deployed undercover to gather information. It can be gathered through observation or listening or conversations done secretly. So, yes, this was a spy who was operating, but the media wants to quibble over semantics so they can trash Trump as a liar. The media, frankly, is either too lazy or stupid to look it up.
No. Journalism in America is dead. It's dead, it's gone, it's buried. They are all liberal activists. And I've got some amazing stuff we're doing that you're going to be proud of. I can promise you that. Sarah, I'm saying on my... Fix that. Good to see you. Let's talk about. Good to
see you too.
I didn't watch a lot of TV this weekend, and I don't like fake news, so I don't watch them very often. But I'm watching some of these shows, and I'm like, they're all. It's sort of like, oh, it's like a love letter, the letter to Kim Jong-un, or what do they say, break up first, or whatever, the a breakup letter. And I'm watching. They're all saying the same thing. Oh, it's not a spy. It's only an informant. Okay, the informant that is approaching people in the campaign, 3 of whom will be on this show tonight, and trying to get information from them. That's a spy.
He is a spy because he didn't reveal his original intent and his intentions when he met them, Sean. So it's obvious he was there to gather information. He did the same thing with George Papadopoulos. After he met with Sam Clovis, he then contacts George Papadopoulos, offers him $3,000 to write a paper and come to England in August of 2016. And when Papadopoulos is there, he starts pushing on him. He starts asking him questions about what does he know about the Russians? What does he know about emails? I mean, even at that point in time.
Why don't they ask WikiLeaks? Did anyone ever ask WikiLeaks? And did WikiLeaks have any proof where they got the info from? Because we do know that Hillary Clinton's server in the original draft of Comey said that there were 6 foreign intelligence services that got into her email server. So it could have been Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and I'm just guessing.
And of course, that's what U.S. intelligence officials that I've spoken with have said, that there is no doubt that her server was infiltrated by foreign actors. So why haven't they asked WikiLeaks? I want that
information. America deserves that information.
America deserves all the information, including all of the documentation that opened up this investigation. That's what America deserves.
All right. You know, there's a New York Times piece out tonight, and the bottom line of it is Mueller is so desperate. He's now looking into a March 2017 meeting with Trump and Sessions about him unrecusing himself.
Right.
And look, I'm not the lawyer you are. I am beginning to think Mueller is so wrapped up on this, so abusively biased, and he's so desperate. He doesn't understand simple fundamentals of the law that he should know. For example, that the president has the right to ask for investigations and stopping investigations.
Or prosecutions, or not to prosecute. The historical example would be President Andrew Johnson after the Civil War, who sent word to the U.S. Attorney in Norfolk, Virginia, dismiss all those indictments against Robert E. Lee and the other Confederate generals for treason. The president was authorized to do that. So fast forward 150 years, here we are now, and Mueller wants to criminalize a perfectly legitimate conversation with the attorney general in which he's being scolded for essentially using the wrong regulation to recuse himself. The regulation calls for recusal in criminal cases. This wasn't a criminal case. It was a counterintelligence probe. This just underscores what a colossal waste of taxpayer money Mueller is squandering, and how desperate
this is so important. The president has the constitutional authority.
Right.
This is what Mark Levin has been saying, and you've been saying. The Constitution is on his side. He has the precedents and the constitutional authority, and it's not ambiguous, Greg. It's straightforward, and we have all this precedent.
Mueller seems to want to criminalize a legitimate conversation the president is having with
Alan
his attorney
Dershowitz.
general. Yes. It's
Criminalize political differences.
That's exactly what it was.
All right, Sarah, you also have a really good column. Remember, this phony Rod Rosenstein he doesn't want the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, to give the information, begging on his hands and knees last hour not to what eventually became the FISA memo in the House Intel Committee and the Grassley-Graham memo. But then they use this tactic of redacting in the name of national security.
They don't have that right, and Rod Rosenstein should know better, because under Article 1 of the Constitution, regardless, and this is based on Supreme Court precedents, I'm sure Greg can talk about this extensively, that even if it's classified information, Congress has the authority for oversight. And Rod Rosenstein knows
this better than anyone else. And that is why they are fighting so hard for these documents. These documents are essential, Sean, because if we want to find the answers to this Russia investigation, we need to get them. They need to be made public. Release them. And if they won't, then the president should have them released.
You can demand that they get released. The American people have had it, and I know, and you know, Sarah, and Greg knows, that if they're released, this whole thing blows up in their face in a massive way, which is why they're fighting so hard not to release them.
Which is why we're fighting so hard to have them released.
Good point. Great job as always. Greg, when's the book out?
It's coming out in about 6 weeks. You can pre-order it.
Can't you release it sooner? Faster.
Let's call up HarperCollins and see if they can move it up.
Tell them to get their ass in gear. I agree. Absolutely. All right. Our company owns HarperCollins, just in case. Yeah, get moving. All right, tonight during his rally in Nashville, the president spoke about Spygate, as we've been discussing. Take a look.
So how do you like the fact they had people infiltrating our campaign? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine people infiltrating our campaign? Is there anybody in this big, beautiful arena right now that's infiltrating our campaign? Would you please raise your hand? That would take courage, huh? Now, look, you take a look at what's going on. Never in the history of our country has something taken place like took place during this election.
All right, joining us now exclusively, 3 people whose lives have been severely and harshly impacted by Robert Mueller and his pit bull, Andrew Weissman's witch hunt. You have former Trump campaign chairman Sam Clovis, former Trump campaign aide Michael Caputo, former Trump campaign associate Carter Page. All right, good to see you all. Let me ask you all a simple question, and I'll turn to you, Carter, first. Were you spied upon? Well, did a spy approach you?
I'm not sure, Sean. And, you know, there were 2 parts of the fake DNI report of January 6, 2017. First is hacking, and we know I've been hacked eventually. And the
by
other,
the way,
the other
for those
part
who don't know, I want to make sure people know. This is the Trump campaign associate. This is the guy that they used the Clinton bought and paid for phony Russian dossier with Russian lies to get a FISA warrant to spy on an American. You're it. They lied to those courts 4 times. And Rod Rosenstein signed off on one of them, the last one, which makes it worse because by then they knew it was they were paid for Russian lies.
Absolutely. But, you know, but the other part of the DNI report as well is the fake news, government propaganda. And we know now, you know, which led to that FISA warrant. There was Broadcasting Board of Governors, you know, their affiliates.
Why were you going to Russia? And why didn't they just say to the FBI in the spring of 2016, why didn't they go to the Trump campaign and say, this guy Carter Page is a Trump? You never met Trump, right?
Never.
Why didn't they just go to Trump and his campaign and say, this guy is going to Russia, he works for your campaign, we're worried about him?
Because there's absolutely nothing to it, and I think they wanted to play
Why were you in Russia?
Story. Gave a speech, you know, and
you didn't get paid for it?
0. Nope.
It's been reported you're a former CIA, FBI operative.
No,
intelligence operative.
It's funny. There's a double standard there as well. I had given information to the CIA and FBI.
You've cooperated
previously.
with your country?
Absolutely.
For the betterment of your country?
Absolutely.
When you made these foreign trips? You were debriefed?
I gave.
You don't like these questions, do you?
Not really. And I generally try to be very confidential.
But you were trying to help. When you were debriefed, you love America.
Yes.
And you were trying to help your country by meeting with Intel CIA people.
They asked for my help, and I did not say no. Absolutely.
Okay. Sam Clovis, let's start with you.
Yes, sir.
You were approached. I won't even mention. I knew who the guy was 2 weeks before, or a long time before they mentioned his name. You were approached by this guy. What did he say to you? What did he want from you? I
think what he really wanted was he used Carter Page as a person to gain access to a meeting with me, and we met on the 1st of September in 2016 in Washington, D.C. area. And I think he used me to create an introduction to George Papadopoulos. And I did not know that this individual subsequently met with George. I had no idea about that. But our meeting was totally innocuous. It was so innocuous that I didn't report it up the chain of command at all, and I didn't think anything of it. In fact, I've never opened
because he was saying,
any of the attachments that were sent to me.
I was a policy guy in 3 campaigns. I want Trump to win. He's presenting himself, but meanwhile, he wants information from you. Fair statement?
Well, he didn't try to get any information from me. I think what this meeting was about was that they used me as a way to get an introduction to George. He wanted to go to George Papadopoulos, and I think, and he used Carter Page to get to me, and then he used me to get to George. And I really think that was the whole chain of events there, because I really think what the goal was to create a linkage between an affiliate of the Trump campaign back to those emails, and in order to create more probable cause, for FISA warrants, and then also to help create a scandal. And I really do think that was the intent and purpose of what this individual was about.
All right, you guys stay right here. This is a very important. I have a very important question for all of you. Michael, I promise I'll get to you when we get back, and all of you. And that is, there's an article with the headline, "How Robert Mueller Ruined My Life." Going to get to that and more as we continue. Stay with us on Hannity. And imagine if this was Hillary's campaign. Imagine civil libertarians. Imagine the left and the media in this country, how different this narrative would be.
Well, I believe I got at least 2 and perhaps more approaches by individuals who were trying to offer information to the campaign that would have jammed us up in some way, shape, or form. I mean, it's very clear that Sam and Carter were both approached by a spy. I don't care what they call this spy. I mean, human intelligence or whatever. You know, back here in Buffalo, you can call it, elongated cylindrical semolina, but we still call it spaghetti here. A spy is a spy is a spy. Yeah. And that's what it is. And I'll tell you, they've done more than this. They had to have done more than what they did with Sam and and Carter. They had to do a lot more. I mean, in reality, if we had known what they were trying to do to us, we'd have all been like that guy in Goodfellas, watching out for helicopters and tomato sauce all day long. I mean, these guys were going at us from all different angles. I'm convinced.
And by the way, what congressman or senator, if somebody called them,
government contractor?
What's congressman or senator? I don't think there's one that if they got a phone call, I've got op research on your opponent, you're going to want to hear this, wouldn't take the meeting. Name one. And anyone that says otherwise is a liar. I don't believe them for a second. All right, here's the bigger picture that I want our audience to fully understand. And we know you nearly lost your house, Michael. The column about you, Carter, that says, "How Robert Mueller ruined my life." Nearly ruined my life.
Listen, Sean, it's like what President Trump always said on the campaign trail. It's not about me, it's about us. I think about all of the damage this did to all of our volunteers on our committee. Look at what it did to Sam. This is the first time I've had a chance to be, talking with him in over a year and a half. And, all the support he gave in terms of talking through a lot of these lies that were being put out by the U.S. government and fake media outlets.
And leaking, it's like a sieve from that special counsel's office.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sam, I don't know. I've read a lot about you. How was your life impacted by all of this? And you're laughing, but I don't think it's funny.
Well, I'm pretty calm. I have a great faith, and again, it's great to finally have a chance to communicate with Carter again. And I will say this: one of the reasons I left government here about 3 weeks ago, I was in the administration, and I left the administration. And one of the reasons, there were many, but one of the reasons I left is because I was tired of not being able to defend myself.
Yep.
And I said, that's enough. I'm going to come out. I'm going to take the muzzle off, and I'm going to talk to everyone. I'm going to tell everyone what this has been about. And I can tell you what Michael and Carter have talked about. This has been, and I agree with Michael, this has been, they've come at us in multiple directions and multiple avenues and from multiple agencies. And I think the American people need to know that this is the worst possible abuse of power at taxpayer expense. And I will say this, I've taken the oath of office 3 times. I've sworn my oath to the Constitution 3 times. And we have any number of people, many high-ranking people in the Obama administration that took the same oath, and they wouldn't know it if it came up and bit them on the butt.
Michael
and that's how I
Caputo,
feel about that.
That's a powerful statement. Michael, you nearly lost your house. From what I understand, American people stepped up to help you. Real quick.
They really did, and I'll tell you, if it weren't for the American people, giving the money to pay for my legal fees and more legal fees, I'm starting to pay other people's legal fees. This thing is really outrageous. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you. Today I spent photocopying papers about a jealous husband that happened after the election just for Robert Mueller. That's how ridiculous this is.
Hope Hicks spent more on lawyers than she did trying to serve her country. Last word, Carter, quick.
The Senate should demand that Sam is brought on as the Undersecretary of Agriculture immediately, given everything he's been through.
We'll have you guys back. Your story is important. This can't happen in our country.
Schumer. He's a tool of Chuck Schumer and, of course, the MS-13 lover, Nancy Pelosi. I said they're animals, and she said, how dare you say that? How dare you say that? Have you seen what they've done? Have you seen what they're doing to us? And we're taking them out of our country by the thousands. Out!
Joining us now, former Deputy Assistant to the President, Fox News National Security Strategist, Dr. Gorka, NRA TV contributor, former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino. Dr. Gorka, the election, I think, is the biggest, most important midterm. It'll be about taking back the tax cuts. It will be about impeaching this president and undoing an election. And it'll be about a lot of the other things the president mentioned tonight. He talked a lot about the election.
Tonight was a barnstormer. I just started ticking off the things he covered, and I just ran out of space, Sean, whether it's, Nancy, the MS-13 lover, whether it's standing up for the flag, whether it's the Second Amendment, rebuilding our military, the tax cuts. On This was the speech. You don't need any talking points for November. I don't care who the candidate is, whether it's the Senate, it's the House. This is the speech that nailed the Republican wave, not the Democrat wave. And I'm not going to say blue wave, because guess whose color is blue? It's our color. If there's any party that's red, it's the Democrats. So tonight was spectacular. And I don't see what the Democrats have to run on after tonight. Bringing back ISIS, raising your taxes, letting more MS-13 into the country. Tonight was fabulous, Sean.
What's your take, Dan? I think this midterm election is the biggest in our lifetime, because knowing what they want to do, that